game. And then also when you have LeBron James making 4 threes and he's doing stuff like that, which he doesn't normally do recently, in this year, they were focused, they were ready to go, and they took it to them. So now we actually have an interesting series to some degree. I don't know. I still feel like obviously the Warriors can come back. They're going to get Draymond Green back for Game 6. Now we did a post with Ronnie Nunn earlier today to talk about the foul. And I think that there wasn't a lot to decipher there. He got walked over, and then he extended his arm and made contact to the groin area. It didn't seem like there was a lot of context there besides it's a flagrant foul. And the rules are designed, if you lose your head once, it's okay. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but that was his 4th flagrant in the playoffs. And so that is the problem. It wasn't necessarily just that one, and then why you can get mad or think it's unfair. It wasn't a penalty to get anybody suspended. It was simply a flagrant foul, which Draymond was foolish enough to get other ones, and probably a little bit lucky he didn't get a couple other ones during that course of the playoffs, because there were some other fouls that were a little bit extracurricular. So that's really the crux of the matter. And you know what? It's going to be concerning for the Warriors now. They have to go back to Game 6 in Cleveland. Certainly not a place that they felt that comfortable in. And they have to try and win it. And then if you go to Game 7, I know it's home, and nobody ever loses a Game 7 at home in the finals. But, you never know. What if Kyrie and what if LeBron go off again? Then the Warriors are really going to have to sit there and think about their season and what happened with Draymond, because I think it's pretty clear when they have Draymond Green, they had their chance tonight to do it. So they're going to have to come out and be really aggressive and see if they can't get back to playing more like a team. I wasn't so happy with either of the offenses tonight at all. That was an interesting issue. I thought that I think both teams just sort of, the coaching was optional tonight. I actually thought that Tyronn Lue was going to get bit in the butt as well, because he didn't get the rest for LeBron like he could have at the end of the third quarter when they had a double-digit lead. They easily could have gotten him the 3 minutes there and then have him start fresh for the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter. Kyrie was on fire as well. They got separation. They never really got back into it. I did like to see that Lue did hack at Thompson. He didn't do it. That Kerr did that, and I didn't see him do it last game when I thought he could have. It didn't hurt him because they won, but I would imagine they might do that even more if they can see that Kyrie is going to go off, and so is LeBron. Well, let's go to your questions right now on Twitter, which is a nice, really fun segment we have every live show. So if you want to ask me a question, I'll answer it live and give you a nice big shout out. Just make sure that you use hashtag #BBallShow, and it will come up on our screen, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So are we ready to go to the screen now and check it out? Here we go. So our first question then is from Ryan Pastorell. Please break down the fouls drawn by Curry, Varejao, and Livingston. Didn't see contact. Okay, we'll have to look at them and see how the breakdown will shake out tomorrow, and we'll check it out. Jerain J. Lagardo asks, what are your thoughts on LeBron having 0 assists and taking 19 shots in the first half? Apparently they missed an assist, so we did have one, but that was startling from a guy that's a pass-first player generally. He doesn't like to force shots. So that just tells you, it speaks volumes to the mindset that LeBron had, and it could have been a nightmare for them, but he was shooting really well. I think some of those shots were the shots that the Warriors exactly wanted him to take, but he was doing pretty well. So you can't argue with that. Let's move to the next question here. Let's see here. Abdel Bassett, hi, Coach. Who's the MVP in your opinion? That's a great question. People were trying to ask me earlier today on Twitter who the MVP was. I don't know. Certainly if it's going to be on the Warriors, no one's really stood out, consistently. It's a tough one. So I can't really answer that. I'll have to really look at the stats and see if that gives me an answer. But for right now, Clay had a nice game for a little bit of it tonight. I know that, Curry had a bunch of points last game. It's going to be hard. David R., how much worse are the Warriors with Spates on the floor? He's a joke defensively and crowds the floor on offense. Well, he was shooting better from 3 this year and, can hit the 18-footer, which in theory is some space. But when their offense isn't clicking right, then it's not opening things up for anybody, and it looks ugly no matter who you are. So, he's okay, but I think that they might have to go without him the next game. David also asks, is this result reproducible by LeBron? I don't think so. I really don't think that LeBron's going to shoot that well again. He certainly hasn't given us any evidence that that's a consistent thing for him. Maddie C. What did the Cavs do differently defensively? They looked a lot different. They did? I don't know. It felt like a shootout to me. They each had, I think, 60 points at half. And, they were able to be a little bit looser because of Draymond not being in there in theory. But there were certainly a number of breakdowns that we saw, Clay and Curry get open that they didn't hit. So I wouldn't be too excited if I were Tyronn Lue looking at the defense coming into this game. Romo 350. After watching this game, how long do you think the Cavs can stay alive, done in 6, or force a Game 7? I mean, I have to imagine that Draymond will be a big difference maker in Game 6, and it'll be over. And then if not, then you can't pick against the home team in Game 7. I don't think you just can't do it. Kevin Schmidtke, I guess if Warriors win in 6 or 7, Green will likely get the Finals MVP after this defensive performance. Green, you mean Draymond, who was not in? I see, because you see just how important he really is. Yeah, but if you miss a game because you're suspended, that's probably grounds for not getting the MVP in my book, at least. Vincent asks, Harrison Barnes missed too many wide open shots. He certainly did. He did not shoot well at all. We'll go over that later in the stats section of the show. He was not good tonight. Romo, Anderson Varejão's flopping has got to stop. He does. It is. It's really a problem. And I don't know if Coach Kerr is going to address it either, but it's a real problem, and it's kind of mucking up the game. We don't deserve to have a game with that much flopping. Ron John, when did LeBron start making jumpers? Do you think he can keep us up for Game 7? Yeah, no, I don't think so. Not like that. There simply is no evidence that how he shoots, and he shoots on the way down, and it's a 2-motion shot. So I don't think he can ever get consistent from the 3-point land that way, and probably even from like long 2. So we'll see, but I don't think it's going to happen again. Vincent says, was it Cavs defense or just Warriors missing shots in the second half? I think a little bit of both. The Cavs were opportunistic. They were a little bit active on defense and getting after it and making it difficult, and they were physical. But I think we can point to a number of shots the Warriors also got that were makeable for them, and they just didn't drop. It's the variability of shooting, which we see from time to time, and you gotta hope if you're playing against them that you can catch them for 4 times in a week or so, but it's not easy. Tokyo, if Cavs didn't blow Game 4, they would be up 3-2. Who do you think the better team has been so far? I think the Warriors have been the better team. It feels that way, especially the way they've been, running their offense and executing and defensively. I think that the Cavs are kind of hanging on there for dear life. Let's move on to let's catch up to where we were, and then we'll get to some stats. What do you say? Oh boy. Let's see. NBA foreign players. Oh, excuse me. I didn't go back far enough. Live. Here we go. Lucas, how the heck do you stop Kyrie when he goes nuclear like that? Do you play the 40-plus point duo differently in Game 6? It's a great question, and I think the issue with that was, Clay was pretty much the primary defender on Kyrie. They did get Curry on him a little bit as well. It was pretty clear that Kyrie was not going to pass. So they're going to have to look at other ways of getting a second defender out there to get him out of that when he's in that groove. And then being physical with him wouldn't hurt either. But there's not a lot you can do. I mean, he was really good tonight. Tokyo, if Cavs force a Game 7, who would you pick? I would probably go Warriors because at home. Yeah, absolutely. You have to pick the home team in the Game 7. NBA foreign players, are Bogut and Green's dirty screens value underrated? I guess, sure. I mean, I'm so desensitized to it that I don't even see them anymore. So I'm just assuming that they're legal because no one calls them. Romo, if the Warriors win this, who would you give the MVP to? Yeah, there's no one's a clear-cut MVP. It's really strange about it. So it's either a testament to how good the Warriors are and their team and how deep they are, or that, these guys aren't playing well enough consistently. Eric Shockey asks, when Kyrie was hot in the fourth, he had 4 fouls. Shouldn't Curry have attacked him more aggressively? Absolutely. By the way, that is a great point. When a guy's really got it going, you can get him in foul trouble, get him on the bench. That'll disrupt his rhythm. Sean Mikowski, was LeBron's aggressiveness tonight the deciding factor in the win for the Cavaliers? I think so. I had been saying before Game 4 that he was going to have to go for 40 for them to have a chance to win, and that's what we got. And they won going away. So that's a big sign for them. Vishu Y asks, how much of the explosion of Kyrie LeBron is attributed to the absence of Draymond Green? I think Draymond Green, without question, is huge for all of that because he helps on all those guys and recovers back to his man. He gets the rebound, gets the block shot. So I bet you he would have been good for, of that 80 points they scored between them, I bet you he could knock off 10 on his own, maybe a little bit more. Matthew Barlow, do you think all the hate on LeBron is justified? Well, I'm not sure which hate we're talking about, but he hasn't done himself any favors, and so we'll see what happens. Like, what happens if he leaves Cleveland after losing? If they lose this year, and he leaves Cleveland, like that's justified. He supposedly went home when perhaps what he didn't do is that he just went to somewhere he could win again, and when he doesn't feel like he can win there, he's just going to leave again. So we'll see. I don't want to jump ahead of put the cart before the horse, but there's no question that LeBron in the past has done stuff that would get people really upset with him. Vishua Yi. Oh, I know. I think you're also the hate because of what he did with Draymond. It's kind of funny because what LeBron did is sort of an old pro trick, the kind of thing you see like an old veteran who's kind of on his last legs do to get like the good player thrown out on the other team. And it's pretty clear that's what he did. It's just kind of interesting to see that that's the stage of his career he is now, that he's willing to do that. Vishu, still a lot of ISO ball for Cats, but some more movement that helped your thoughts. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look through it again. I wasn't that impressed with the offense. I felt like it was pretty stagnant. Do you think that Draymond coming back will be a big change for the Warriors? Yes, Draymond is the heart and soul of this team. He's got the ferocity, he brings the passion, he brings and otherworldly defense and defensive help. So he's big. He's going to be a big difference to them. Kevin Love didn't do much out there. Should he come off the bench again? So what? They won one when he came off the bench, or he didn't play, and now they lost one when he came off the bench, and they won one when he came off the bench, and they only won two. So I don't know. I think that they're just going to probably just find those minutes where he can be helpful. Doesn't really matter when they are. Does Kyrie have an NBA League MVP in his future? No, not the way he plays defense, and I think he's got to be a little bit more of a facilitator to kind of get to that level. But he's certainly a terrific finisher and a good shot maker, one of the best. The arbitrator, can Cleveland sustain this? Love 2 points, no Delhi, LBJ, and Kawhi Kyrie played 48 minutes and making everything. I don't think it's sustainable. I'm not sure anybody would argue with that either. But for one night, man, it was fun. The Cavs got quite a few points off of isolations, but how much is too much? Yeah, that's a good question. When you got it going, you got it going. You can isolate as much as you like, but at some point, if they're not defending well enough and it's a close game and you get stuck in those tough ISOs where you're only up by 3 points and 4 minutes to go and the other team comes back, that's when you know it's enough. Let's see here. Myroa Pomana asks, is Steph Curry going to show up? I hope so. I think it would be fun. Now, he did have some good shots tonight, but there's no question he's going these long stretches where he's kind of disappeared and not being a factor. It's really frustrating. Eric Shake, do you think that Draymond missing was even most important factor tonight? Absolutely. They missed a lot of open shots, but I think that Draymond is one of those galvanizers. When they miss those shots, he's still there to help them anchor the defense. And it was clear that Kerr was, sort of desperately looking for some sort of lineup. He was going through all sorts of players in that first half. Danny Coop, does Draymond's flagrance reset or does the next one suspend him again? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I would bet you that you get a suspension after each one. James Crown, did Green's absence affect the Warriors? Yes, absolutely, times 100. Good question. Tranquil, what kind of player do the Cavs need to complement what the big two were doing tonight? I mean, listen, they with what they had was work tonight. They have a guy like Tristan Thompson who's a defensive player and gets rebounds. Wasn't much of a factor on the offensive boards tonight, but everybody kind of contributed around them, which is fine. They didn't have a lot of points outside of Kyrie and LeBron, and and they're going to need more in Game 6. I'm fairly confident that we're going to see a Warriors team that's better, that'll play better, and the Cavaliers are going to have to elevate their game from there. Ivo Fiveman asks, why was Klay unable to defend Kyrie? Kyrie is good. Sometimes you can't quite stop him. And they're going to, without Draymond there, Draymond would have been in there, I'm sure, and like snuck a double team in there a little bit and gotten in there and blocked a couple of the shots. There's no question in my mind that that's what would happen. And that affects Kyrie later on. Maybe he doesn't drive as much later because he knows Draymond's around. And when they're not around, that's open season on that rim. And that's the Cavaliers displayed that pretty clearly. Let's do a couple more rounds and then we'll get to our stats and see how that's going. So we have what did I think of Curry's performance? Yeah, he hit some shots. He was okay. He had a couple of really awful defensive possessions as well that were really troubling. Because there's something off with him, and I don't know if it's his knee or what, but he just seems distracted more so than he ever has, more consistently. And I think he's going to have to get either he's exhausted and he can't get the knee to perform up to what his standards are, or he's going to have to get his mind clear and get back to doing how he usually does it. Let's see. Matthew asks, why did Steph and Klay go cold in the second half? It's a great question, and that happens. They were so hot in the first half, certainly when Klay got going, and then it went cold. But we'll have to look at that and find out exactly what they were running that wasn't, generating open shots for Klay. That, to me, was the big one where I just didn't feel like he was a focal point of the offense, and they should have been. Dante Fuel asks, hey, Coach, how do you feel about McAdoo and Brandon Rush getting crucial minutes on a stage like this? It's really encouraging from a coach to know that they can that he has the confidence and then the trust to put them in. I don't think it's fair to Brandon Rush to throw him out there like that and hope that he performs having not played at all. At least McAdoo played the other day, so that's a problem. And thoughts on Love? Love is a bit invisible out there as well. He's just struggling. It's just not his series. There's not a good matchup for him. Mayroa asks, what's next for LeBron if the Cavs lose the series? Do you think he'll stay in Cleveland? I don't know. I almost feel like he might try and team up with Chris Paul and actually he's not a free agent, but there's this rumor about him and Melo and whatever trying to all get together, but it doesn't sound like it's possible the way that everything's structured. But you never know. So I don't know. I might say there's a 20% chance he leaves Cleveland. If you can name a player now that could fit into Cavs' system and offer something new in terms of offense and defense, who would it be? I don't know. You know what, like Durant? Is that what we're talking about? Like that kind of guy? Because that would help for sure. I'm not so sure J.R. Smith is the answer at shooting guard. That's part of the problem. And then if LeBron's going to go to power forward more, then they might need another small forward. So, it's interesting. But I like, what they have in the front court, like Tristan Thompson, solid, and Kyrie. So they just need to find a piece like a good shooting guard. How bad is Bogut's injury for Golden State? Well, it sounded like he wanted to try and come back. So maybe he just hyperextended it and it'll calm down and they'll get it back for the next game, I hope. Darren Yu asks, Warriors only scored 36 in the second half. They missed tons of wide open shots. Is that the winning factor? Yeah, that's certainly that's part of it. I'll have to go back and see how many open shots they did miss. I know they got some, and that's not going to happen again. Kyrie asks, can Kyrie repeat this performance in Game 6? I doubt it. That just doesn't seem humanly possible to shoot that well again. Why does Steph look so bad? It can't be the Cavs defense. He's taking terrible threes even for him. He looks exhausted, and sometimes if you're in pain, it tires you out. And that could very well be what the problem is that he's sort of, he's just drained because he's in pain. It doesn't necessarily affect your movement because he seems like he's moving okay, but it just drains you. Anshul Birla, what's your opinion on Game 6? I predict having Draymond will make the W's be better on defense and they will win it. I can go with that. I think that might be my prediction as well. Sean Mikowski, was Steve Kerr running the super small ball line with Barnes to the 5 at the beginning there at the end, or does the fault lie in the players? No, I had predicted they were going to play Barnes at the 5. And that isn't what's killing them necessarily because they were able to get some shots they couldn't hit. So that wasn't going to be a problem. I think that they did okay with that. Again, we didn't really see Tristan Thompson go nuts in the offensive boards, which would have been a good red flag that Barnes at the 5 was a problem. We've seen Barnes go up against Zebo in the playoffs and do nicely. So, I think he can do it. It's just a question of can they get the offense back in tune. Tuan Yen asks, was it possible to stop LeBron and Kyrie, or was it just two guys being aggressive and having great performances? I think that's what it was. There wasn't much you could do with the available players they had. Draymond changes everything. They can do so many more things on defense to stop that kind of stuff, but when he's out, they didn't have it. Stephen A., with no Bogut, looks bad. Although, remember, Bogut said he wanted to come back, I think was a report we'd heard. Which big man is the best bet? Varejao can't shoot, protect the rim. Ezeli has been playing bad. McAdoo. I think it's a combination of all three. They're going to have to cobble it together, and whoever's kind of going gets a little bit more minutes, and that's how they're going to get through this. Matthew Barlow, did the sleeve jerseys make any impact? I don't know. I think LeBron hated them, but you know what? He shot really well, so that certainly wasn't an issue. How does the Bogut injury change the series? Not too much. Bogut had one good game in game 2, and other than that, it hasn't been much, so I'm not so sure that's going to change much. And then Israel, why is he not playing Fry? I think that they couldn't find a spot for him to get in there. I think, you know, they would, if they could get a spot, although you can argue that with that 11-point lead, they probably could have snuck him in there to see if they can get him going. So, you know, his defense has been really problematic, and I suppose that's the problem. That's why they don't trust him so much. Let's go to our box score and see if we can fire this up and see if we can go. Nope, it's not ready yet, is it? Let's see. They don't have a button for the box score yet. I don't see it, at least. So I guess we'll have to wait until that is ready. Sometimes it's not completely ready unless they change the interface, but it looks to me like it's not there. So let's answer a few more questions. Ziku asks, did you notice how Warriors burned too many timeouts in the first half and didn't have any for the third quarter? They don't actually carry over, I don't think. Do they? Or is it for the game? They have a whole bunch in the game? I can't remember now. But they did burn them, but, you know, they had to try and interrupt some runs. But you're right. You always want to have some timeouts. Now, Steve Kerr didn't call a timeout when he really could have or should have when they were on a big run. And actually, they got kind of back into it, got control of it. So a Phil Jackson method of not calling timeouts. So, you know, I don't know if it was going to be a big issue. You certainly want to have a couple, which they did have. But, yeah, that does come back to bite you sometimes. Ohas, will Bogut's absence have a big impact? I don't think so. Tristan, why do you think K. Love was scoreless tonight? He was? Kevin Love didn't score? Oh, he had a one bucket? You know, I think that he doesn't want to take contested shots, which is admirable. The offense really was sort of a pickup game, which is not going to be his thing because he's not going to break guys down off the dribble, which is exactly why LeBron and Kyrie were doing so well, is because, you know, I don't think they ran 10 plays all the game where they were, you know, guard forward, run a pin down, do something that I could recognize. Maybe they did 10, 12 times. And if they do it, like they play like that, then Kevin Love's not going to get shots generated for him. Matthew, are the Cavaliers capable of staying motivated and aggressive like this? Yeah, I don't think it's the motivation and the aggressiveness. It's like, can they just make those shots they made tonight? Do I think the Warriors will choke a 3-2 lead? Well, I think what you mean is, will they choke a 3-1 lead? No, I don't think so. And the difference between OKC and choking that or losing that was that this Game 7 was in Oakland, and as it will be in this one. And that's why it's not a choke job ultimately, because, you know, the home team earned that advantage. Everything NBA, does Kevin Love have any sort of use to Cleveland's offense? He only scored 2, if I remember right. Yes, he does have a use. He spaces the floor well. They have to honor him. He can post up and score down there as well. So he has gravity and the defense has to deal with. Omar Mansour, would you use the hack strategy with the lead or when you're down, coach? I would do it both. Sometimes you can do it both with like a, you know, 8-point lead and then get it to extend. You can. Me personally wouldn't really do it. I think I would only do it if I started getting down. But you can do it both and extend the lead. Orlando Savlon III, you mentioned LeBron's shot motion. What motion is hurting his jump shot? Well, it's a 2-motion shot where he brings the ball sort of over his head, and then he shoots on the way down, like a catapult sometimes. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to be a consistent 3-point shooter with a 2-motion shot like that. I had some great footage of Steph Curry I'm going to share soon of him shooting and talking about the 1-motion shot, so it'll be more clear when we see that. But basically, his mechanics will pretty much prohibit him from being a really good 3-point shooter. And I'll have to study that 1 year where he shot really well to figure out if he had adjusted anything, because, you know, to me, if he was still shooting the same way he does now, then it's simply just an anomaly that he did well. Joseph Song, should the Cleveland Cavaliers try to trade Love if they lose the series? Yeah, probably. He's kind of the one guy who doesn't fit so well. So that's the problem. And then Nicholas Nacho, Draymond will come in and get the Finals MVP. Okay, good. That's a bold prediction. We'll have to see what happens there if that's the case. Now, let's just go back. Let's go to scores one more time, and let's see if they can. There it is, box score. Beautiful. Perfect timing. Okay, so first we can look over the overview. Golden State hung 32 points on them. Let me make this a little bigger so we can read this. Oh, that's interesting. All right, maybe that's hopefully big enough to read. So Golden State hung 32 points up on Cleveland, and Cleveland State kept pace with them, which is interesting. And then they reversed that in the second quarter for a tie game at the half. Not a lot of defense and just sort of a lot of loose play. It looked like a pickup game. Then in the third, this is a big one right here. This is pretty much the side of the game. They outscored them by 9, and it was a good mixture of Kyrie and LeBron being really hot, and then the Warriors being pretty darn cold. So what we can do here is click the gear and look at this by period. And let's look at the Cavaliers' first quarter. Oh, let me make it a little smaller so we can fit everything in there. So who did well for the Cavaliers in the first quarter? You had LeBron James, 4 for 7, 2 threes, 2 for 2 from 3. He had 12 points and 1 assist. There it is. And then there's J.R. Smith, 3 for 4. So he started out well, although I thought he was going to start out pretty poorly. He ran Steph over, lost him on another Clay shot in the corner on a terrible defense, but he balanced that out with some good scoring. And then you have Kyrie Irving had 7 points and 3 assists. So they, the big three were doing well for them, and that was about it. Actually, look at that, 12, 10, and 7. 3 players scored. That was it, and that's indicative of why they didn't really have any assists either. Now on the flip side, you had 8 points from Andre Iguodala. 0 for 3 from 3, though, and I didn't like any of those threes he took. He had 3 assists as well, so he was doing yeoman's work as a starter in there. Harrison Barnes started out with no points, did not shoot well, and then we have Klay Thompson with 8. Didn't shoot great, but shot good from three-point land, and then also Steph Curry 2 for 4. So they were on their way. It looked like they were going to kind of go on a run and kind of break the game open, but they couldn't sustain it. Let's move on to the second quarter then, which will have us. So the second quarter, you can see LeBron James went off 6 for 11, but he missed his 2 threes, 5 rebounds. And then Kyrie Irving started to detonate as well, 5 for 6 with a 3, and really, again, kept them pace. Now, again, if you look at that, 13 and 11, only a couple of other people scored. But they still hung 32 points on a good defensive team without Draymond. Meanwhile, this is Klay Thompson detonated 5 for 5, 4 for 4 from 3. Some really good shot makes and also some really bad defense. And that was about it. Look, 2, 3, 3, and then 2 down here. Sean Livingston, who also had trouble getting going as well, considering the success he had earlier in the series. Let's move on to the third period when this really kind of got decided. I felt like, and we'll see LeBron James. Again, 11 more points on really hot shooting, 2 more threes. Not much they could do. He took the shots they wanted, and then Kyrie again 4 for 5, wasn't missing, wasn't passing either. Only 1 assist. LeBron had 5 and had and 11. And meanwhile, I have a feeling we're going to look at, let's see, Steph Curry 1 for 5, Klay Thompson 2 for 6. It's not going to cut it, especially when they had the other guys on the other team just going nuts. So let's go back to our last round of questions, shall we? And see, we got 6 more here. And Maddie, do you spot any pitching crap on the non-starting Cavs? Good reference into the breakdown I did on their offense, where they were standing around so much that they were targets for the pigeons, as if they were statues. It was a little bit better today, but again, it was still very playground-ish, very pickup basketball. You are biased that said Cavs would lose is 4 or 5. You mad? Let's see if I can decipher this. So I said they lose in 4 or 5. I don't know if I ever called this sweep. I probably would have said, yesterday, yeah, they lose in 5. I don't think it's biased. I think that we saw that the Warriors are a better team. Jeremiah Gallego, do you think that Kerr will continue to let LeBron take those long twos? Yes, absolutely. He'll let him take as many long twos and threes as he can. And you know what? If he makes them with a hand up, then I'm sure he'll tip his cap and say, you deserved it. Mayroya asks, if there's a Game 7, Draymond commits a flagrant foul in Game 6, he gets suspended again, plus Bogut can't come back. Who wins? Oh, wow. Now that's a wrench in the plans. Without Draymond at home, I don't know. I might still have to kind of feel like it's a home team advantage, but that's really I can't make that call. Everything NBA. Why did LeBron's jumper get so bad consistent after he left Miami? You know what? It wasn't really that great in Miami. He had like a year and a half of those 4 where he was shooting well. So let's not get like too crazy about that. Now why did it last for that long is a good question. Maybe I'll try and do a video on it and really see if I can get some good footage to study. We'll find out. And then Lopez, do you agree that Draymond is the Warriors' most valuable player as far as what he's able to do and the impact he has? He's the most intangible player, I suppose, which is, something similar where you have, a guy that he just sets the tone for the Warriors, and primarily on defense. And remember, they can get away with being a quote-unquote jump shooting team because they have the tenacious defense, and it all emanates from Draymond Green. So that is what they were missing, and it remains to be seen if Draymond can exist in Game 6, play hard, play smart, and not get another flagrant foul, right? I mean, he has 4 of them, and they played a number of games, so it's not like he's getting them every game. But I'm worried that he's going to sort of play less energetic because he's afraid of that. And you can bet your butt that all the Cavaliers are going to be trying to do is get him to get another one. There's no question they're going to try and goad him into doing something dumb. And so it's a real challenge for him. And it's probably the first time he's ever really had to face what his emotions and what his decision-making when he gets revved up really mean to the team. So far they've won a title. It hasn't really bitten them in the butt, but it certainly did tonight. And we'll have to find out if it continues in Game 6. I would hope that he can keep it under control and play as hard as he can, and at least that way we'll get like the best version of these teams, because that's all they want, right? Is good games. This game was pretty good, right? It kind of got there. I would say the last maybe 5 minutes were sort of garbage time, but at least we had some fun, good, sustained play as opposed to blowouts for the most part. But again, it's a weird series where we do know as far as the Warriors go, when you beat them, you got to kind of really blow them out. Like 15, 16, 17 points, because if it's a dogfight and it's close, they usually pull those out with their 3-pointers. So we'll have to see how that goes. So I'm not surprised that when the Warriors lose, it's by a lot, because that's been the pattern all year long. So it's a big question mark. Does LeBron shoot that well again? I don't think so. Does Kyrie? Probably not. He's not going to shoot 80% or whatever he ended up shooting for the game again. I think it's pretty clear. Will Draymond be able to play and help them? Yes, but will he be limited because he's worried about getting a flagrant? Unclear. Can Steph and Clay continue to have these long stretches of being quiet again? Like, my mind tells me no, it's not possible. They have to go off. Now, we got Clay going off a little bit. That was exciting and crazy, but it was matched shot for shot. They could not play defense, and that was what was killing them tonight. So make no mistake, they missed some open shots, but it was their defense in the long run that caused them to lose this game. Well, I think that has a great post-game show. I'm glad we have another game to go to. It would have been kind of sad if tonight was the last night of the season, but don't forget, we got tons of stuff coming up all summer long. On-court demos, interviews, other kind of shows, retro breakdowns, and anything else you guys might suggest to me that sounds cool, okay? So don't think that we're not going to create a lot of content. We'll have stuff probably as frequent as we do now. So you'll have lots of basketball to keep your fix while all the other beat writers and whatnot are sitting on their hands until September, October. Well, thanks for joining us, sports fans. Another great post-game show. Looking forward to our next one for Game 6. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win,